Making headlines tonight, GMOA ends strike. Emergency meeting with the president results in strike suspension.
First at 9. This is Other Derana 24/7.
Issues over Rangiri Dambulu Temple. Mahasangha of the Asgiri chapter refutes allegations of financial irregularities. New criteria for liquor permits. Minister Mangala Samaravira to revise permit issuance for beer and wine. In sports, Sri Lanka head coach quits. Graham Ford steps down after 15 months. Making international headlines, China hit by landslide. 120 feared dead in landslide in Sichuan province. Good evening. This is your prime time news at 9 and I'm Indivri Amwat. We start off with your local news. The Government Medical Officers Association temporarily called off their strike today following an emergency meeting with President Maithripala Sirisena in which a number of agreements were reached over the Saitam issue. Other Derana correspondents, however, reported that the halting of the strike by noon did not make a significant difference as outpatient departments were shut at the same time for the weekend.
We explained to the president the current situation and finally he agreed to stop recruitment and the degree award to the Saitam students, maintain the independence of the medical council's chairman and the council members. Also, we asked to appoint a committee to find solutions to the students who are in the Saitam and the other issues and to present the government stand regarding the Saitam issue through the Attorney General. So under these 4 conditions, we agreed to temporarily call off our continuous trade union action. We are looking forward very positively how the government is going to implement this thing, because the president very clearly said that he discussed this with the prime minister. So both leaders in the government is in agreement to implement these things. But unfortunately, some ministers, including Rajasena Aradhana, if they are going to try to stop the implementation, it will be another beginning of a strike. Yeah.
How much do you feel that the mission has been accomplished?
More than 75%. Yeah.
While the strike was in effect this morning, patients visiting outpatient departments and clinics were deprived of treatment.
ඩොක්ටර්ලාගේ පැත්තෙන් හරි ඉතින් ඒ උනාට ලෙඩුන්ගේ පැත්තෙනුත් ටක් හිතුවොත් හොඳයි කියලා හිතෙනවා.
අනේ බෙහෙත් නැතුව මොනවා කරන්නද ලෙඩ හැදිලා මේ හරි අමාරුයි.
සයිටම් ප්‍රශ්නේ නැති කරා නම් මේ ප්‍රශ්න ඔක්කොම ඉවරයිනේ.
Treatment at emergency units and intensive care units, as well as in-house treatment, took place as usual, and all hospitals continue to treat dengue patients, considering it an essential service. After trade union action was called off, however, our reporters noted no significant change as outpatient departments were closed for the weekend by 12 noon.
Meanwhile, convener of the Inter-University Bhikkhu Action Committee, Venerable Tampitiya Sugatananda Thera, who is remanded until the 5th of July by the Maligakanda Magistrates Court over Wednesday's incident at the Ministry of Health, was transferred from the Colombo National Hospital to the Valikada prison today.
Convener of the Inter-University Bhikkhu Action Committee, Venerable Tampitiya Sugatananda Thera, was receiving treatment at the Colombo National Hospital for injuries sustained during the scuffle at the Ministry of Health on Wednesday, where they came under police attack following forcible entry to the ministry. Meanwhile, the Medical Faculty Students Parents Association held a protest today condemning Wednesday's attack on protesting university students. A number of politicians also voiced their views on the issue.
As far as I know, there is no instance in history that university students were treated this brutally. Whoever issues these orders should bear responsibility for them. The president says the students are innocent, and the minister agrees. So have they attacked innocent people? We condemn the inhumane attack on university students. Have you ever seen a riot control unit of the police special task force before? We haven't. The Saitam issue is a long-standing problem. The government has the responsibility of resolving this issue some way or the other. They can't wash their hands of it, saying that it was created by the previous government.
Maha Sangha of the Askari chapter emphasized that former chief incumbents have been insulted by Minister of Education Akila Viraj Karyavasam following his allegations on financial irregularities at the cave temple in Dambulla. They made these remarks at a media briefing held at the Askari Mahavihara today.
Mahasangha of the Askari chapter held a media briefing today to express their opposition over the decision to bring Dambulla cave temple under the Department of Archaeology.
Minister Akila Viraj is attempting to take over the Dambulla cave temple by a cabinet paper. And while expressing his decision in a media briefing, he sarcastically spoke against former chief incumbents of the temple, highlighting that there were financial irregularities. We are expressing our deepest displeasure over these statements. After the minister's statement, I called the president to inquire about it, and he said that if he knew the minister was going to make such remarks, he wouldn't have let it happen. Minister Akila Viraj also says that Dambulla Cave Temple will be removed from the list of World Heritage Sites. These are utter lies. I challenge him to show us any documents which say that the temple will be removed from the list.
And Minister of Education Akila Viraj Karyavasam assures that the Rangiri Dambulu Raja Mahavihara will not be taken over by the government. The minister made the statement addressing a function at the Mahanama College in Colombo last evening.
One of our therapists say that we are going to take over Rangiri Dambulu Raja Mahavihara. We are not going to do that. There is, however, a risk of Dambulla Cave Temple being removed from the list of World Heritage Sites because UNESCO warned the place isn't functioning well. They have constructed new buildings on the premises, established collection boxes and even issued tickets. It has a daily income of 3.5 to 8 million rupees. The daily income of Sigiri is 11 million rupees from foreigners. 80% of them visit Dambulla. The temple has earned over 8 billion rupees from ticket sales. No one dares to talk about this. Even politicians think that they will be attacked if they talk about it. I'm broaching this subject knowing I will be attacked. When this is called a World Heritage Site, hundreds of thousands of tourists visit these places. I'm trying to secure this income. We will not take over any temple. But we will issue tickets so we can use that money to preserve other temples around the country.
Minister of Finance and Mass Media Mangala Samaravida states that attention will be given to introduce new criteria when issuing permits for beer and wine. The minister made these comments addressing media following an audience with the chief prelate of the Malvatta chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuwa Sri Sumangala Thera.
Minister Mangala Samaravira, Malik Samaravikrama and State Minister Iran Vikramaratne paid a visit to the Malvatta Vihara in Kandy this afternoon and received blessings from the Chief Prelate of the Malvatta chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuwa Sri Sumangala Thera.
80% of our expenses come from indirect tax. Our first challenge is to systematically reduce the tax burden on the public. To do that, we have to increase direct taxes. Many people who should pay taxes do not pay. It may be doctors or lawyers.
Later, the minister addressed media.
Rather than questioning whether we want it or not, I think it poses the question whether we get what we want with outdated laws still in place. 61% of people who drink liquor drink moonshine every day. We will hold wide-ranging discussions on whether a new license system should be introduced for beer and wine and make a decision in the future.
Also making news here at home, Minister of Sustainable Development and Wildlife Gamini Javikrama Pereira was confronted by residents of Pinnavala over a plan to swap an elephant which was offered to the Alutnura Devalaya with another elephant from the Pinnavala Elephant Orphanage. The exchange of elephants became a requirement since the animal offered to the Devalaya had come into must, rendering it unsuitable for the upcoming Perahara season.
5 elephants were brought to the Pinnavala Zoological Garden this morning to train for the upcoming Perahara, which is conducted by the Pinnavala Elephant Orphanage. Minister of Sustainable Development and Wildlife Gamini Jayavikrama Perera and Minister of Public Enterprises Development Kabir Hashim was also present at the occasion. Following his arrival, UNPMP of the Kegaul district Sandeep Samarasinghe had a heated exchange with several people present at the scene. Following the event, Minister Gamini Jayavikrama Perera expressed his views to media.
The elephant of the Dadimuna Devale will be handed over to us and we will bring him here.
As the minister was attempting to leave, locals of Pinnavala surrounded his vehicle. An agreement signed between the Department of National Zoological Gardens and the trustees of the Alutnura Devalaya to swap the elephant which was offered by the orphanage to the temple with another from the Pinnavala orphanage. The elephant offered to the Devalaya has come into mast and cannot be used during the Perahara season. The intervention of the police to calm the situation proved futile. The area residents obstructed the minister's way for about 45 minutes and the OIC of the local police calmed the crowd and sent the minister on his way.
Welcome back. The Colombo Grand Mosque has notified that as the new moon has not been sighted, Sri Lankan Muslims will celebrate the festival of Eid-ul-Fitr, marking the end of the month of Ramadan on Monday, the 26th of June. Celebrating Eid-ul-Fitr, Muslims will conclude a month-long period of fasting and austerity. Moving on, the Acting High Commissioner of Pakistan, Dr. Shafraz Ahmed Khan, says that Pakistan will increase the number of fully funded scholarships for Sri Lankan students at Pakistan universities. He made the remark at a function organized to award scholarships worth around 4.3 million rupees to 170 ordinary and advanced level students from Sri Lanka under the Jinnah Scholarship Program.
The scholarships were awarded at a ceremony graced by the Vice-Chancellor of Buddhist and Pali University, Venerable Professor Gallalle Sumanasirthera, and State Minister for National Integration and Reconciliation, A.H.M. Fauzi, in Colombo. The scholarships are named after the famed statesman and leader of the subcontinent, Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who is the founder of Pakistan. The government of Pakistan has been awarding the Jinnah scholarships since 2005, and during the past 12 years, approximately 50 million rupees worth of scholarships have been awarded. Under the program, each student receives a stipend of 25,000 rupees as assistance for 1 year for following their studies.
We are the nations that we have kept peace in the world arised in Sri Lanka. I am appreciating very much offering this scholarship continuously, annually.
The scholarship has become the most visible symbol of Pakistan-Sri Lanka friendship. We in Pakistan greatly admire Sri Lanka's remarkable progress, have achieved almost all of its Millennium Development Goals. Pakistan seeks to expand its cooperation with Sri Lanka. Pakistan would extend cooperation to Sri Lanka for improving its higher education sector, where Pakistan is doing a great job. Pakistan would continue to provide more technical assistance to Sri Lanka for enhancing the professional and technical skills of the Sri Lankan younger generation. We will come with the official announcement very soon.
The outgoing defence attaché to the Pakistani High Commission in Sri Lanka, Colonel Irshad Khan, called on the Commander of the Navy, Vice Admiral Ravindra Vijayagunaratne, at the Naval Headquarters yesterday. He made this courtesy call on the eve of the conclusion of his tenure as the Pakistani defence attaché in Sri Lanka. Let's now take a brief look at other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
8 Indian fishermen were arrested by a Sri Lanka Navy fast attack craft in northern territorial waters southeast of Point Pedro last evening. Sri Lanka Navy patrol craft attached to the Northern Naval Command engaged in routine patrol apprehended the Indian poachers and their steel hull bottom trawler in Sri Lankan waters 17 nautical miles off Point Pedro. The apprehended Indian fishermen, their trawler and fishing gear are to be handed over to the Jaffna Assistant Director of Fisheries for onward legal action. A 6-year-old girl was beaten to death by her father in Kotadeniyawa last night. Her sister and mother were also assaulted by her father, claiming that their mother was having an affair with another man.
The number of people who lost their lives to the dengue epidemic during the first 5 months of the year have risen to 210. The National Dengue Control Unit said most deaths have been recorded from the Western Province. We looked into how the prevalent health crisis is affecting the economy of the country. We take a look.
Dengue epidemic was first reported in the early 1980s in the Colombo metropolitan area, and it has spread to other parts of the country since. During the last 5 months of this year, 69,380 suspected dengue cases have been reported to the epidemiology unit from across the island. Approximately 42% of dengue cases have been reported from the Western Province, and people from 14 districts have been affected by the epidemic this year. Professionals in the economic sector are warning of a possible threat to the country's profitable tourism industry, which has become a founding pillar to attract foreign currency into Sri Lanka.
With this dengue epidemic, the major areas which will hit Sri Lanka is the tourism sector and the small and medium businesses. Reason for this is mainly due to international and local outlook of the Sri Lankan tourism. It will affect not only the tourism sector but also all the other sectors which depend on the tourism sector of Sri Lanka. As the private sector, we urge the government to come out with a long-lasting solution for this dengue epidemic.
Meanwhile, prominent academics attribute the health crisis to various factors.
The main factor is population growth. In more recent decades, we have seen the expansion of urban centers, in particular the Colombo metropolitan region, because Colombo emerged as the hub of the Sri Lanka's economy. In spite of this very significant role that the Colombo metropolitan region plays, we have not really regulated the building construction activities. Many people who moved into the Colombo metropolitan region are from rural areas, and they have not been accommodated in decent residential areas, mainly because they are low income people, and there is also overcrowding in many of these settlements.
Professor Hettige went on to elaborate on the economic implications if immediate measures are not taken to mitigate the health crisis, particularly in the Western Province.
It is important for us to recognize that we have to depend on foreign investors to come in with the capital to invest in new industries, other economic ventures, and we will have to depend on tourism at least for a number of years, because that has become one of the major sources of income. And then also we have to attract a whole range of people to come to this country with their skills and other resources, so that country's economy can be developed to a level where people can be provided with livelihood opportunities and other things that they require. If we do not really address this issue rapidly and restore normalcy in the urban areas in this country, we are not going to really achieve our economic objectives.
And in international business news, the European Central Bank has put forward a proposal to boost its oversight over euro clearing. The legal amendment would give it a significantly enhanced role in regulating the lucrative market. London currently processes most of the trades in this financial sector, providing thousands of jobs, and the ECB proposal comes shortly after the European Commission published a draft law to give it the power to move euro clearing business out of London. Trillions of euros are handled through clearing houses every year, mostly through London. Take a look at your sports headline. Graham Ford has stepped down from his role of head coach for Sri Lanka cricket, ending his second stint with the team 15 months into a 4-year contract. President of Sri Lanka Cricket, Thilanga Sumatipala, said the decision was arrived at mutually after careful consideration and deliberation. Sri Lanka's fielding coach, Nick Pottas, has been announced as an interim coach.
Graham Ford took over Sri Lanka's head coach in February last year, and under him, Sri Lanka whitewashed Australia, a historic Test series victory over the then #1 ranked team in August last year. 56-year-old Ford had been involved in discussions with the top management of Sri Lanka cricket upon his return from the Champions Trophy and had indicated that he was unlikely to continue before leaving for his native South Africa. Reportedly, Sri Lanka's fielding coach Nick Pottas has been announced as interim coach for the upcoming 5-match ODI series against Zimbabwe, which starts on the 30th of this month. In a press release, President of Sri Lanka Cricket, Thilanga Sumatipala, said, "We have to thank Fordy for his invaluable contribution to Sri Lanka cricket, joining us at a time where we were quoted by the ICC as being on the verge of suspension. At a time where things were volatile and uncertain, Ford had faith in us and has given us his fullest support." Bidding farewell to Sri Lanka cricket, Graham Ford stated, "It's been a privilege to work with these talented young men over the past 15 months. Their passion for the sport is inspiring, as indeed is this nation's. Sri Lanka has grown on me, and although we've made the decision to part ways where coaching is concerned, it will always have a little piece of my heart."
On to rugby news now. St. Joseph's College, Colombo beat Isipathana College in the final of the President's Trophy at the Racecourse grounds today. St. Joseph scored 19 points while Isipathana could only manage 13 in this evening's clash. And in international rugby, the All Blacks snuffed out British and Irish Lions' hopes of taking a shock lead in their 3-match Test series with a ruthless display in Auckland today. With the match poised at 13 points to 8 at halftime, New Zealand ran into 2 more tries and Borden Barrett kicked 6 from 6 to confirm a 30-15 win.
Cody Taylor's pickup brought the All Blacks their opening try early on, but the Lions replied with Sean O'Brien finishing a length of field effort started by Liam Williams. The home side struck again through Reiko Ioane in the corner, then took control as he doubled his tally. Rhys Webb's late try was little consolation for the visitors, who have only won 1 series in New Zealand in their history.
And in tennis, to the 2014 champion Grigor Dimitrov has advanced to the semi-finals at the Queen's Club in London, joining 35-year-old Spaniard Feliciano Lopez. Former champion Sam Querrey was knocked out by Jill Muller, who will face another former champion in Marin Cilic in the penultimate round of the Aegon Championships.
Grigor Dimitrov suffered a mid-match hiccup after winning the first 5 games, but eventually beat his 21-year-old opponent Daniil Medvedev 6-3, 3-6, 6-3. Feliciano Lopez, who finished runner-up in Stuttgart last week, will be Dimitrov's opponent in the Final 4 as he defeated 7th seed Thomas Berdych 7-6, 6-7, 7-5. The late-blooming 34-year-old Gilles Muller chalked up a 7th successive victory on grass as he beat the powerful American Sam Querrey 6-4, 7-6 to reach the semi-finals. Next up for the Luxembourg native is 4th seed Marin Cilic, who dispatched American Donald Young 6-4, 7-5 on another sunny day at the prestigious London club.
In some disturbing news, 120 people are missing and feared dead after a landslide in the Sichuan province of China. According to Chinese state media, over 60 homes were destroyed in the Maoixin country early this morning and search and rescue efforts are underway.
Xinhua news agency reports that the landslide blocked a 2-kilometer stretch of a river, while local police told CCTV that the landslide had been triggered by recent heavy rains and the situation has been made worse by a lack of vegetation in the area. The side of a mountain collapsed and destroyed 40 homes in the Jinmo village this morning, and while a few people have been rescued, authorities fear a death toll of up to 140. Local media reported that all roads in Majian County were closed today to all traffic except for emergency services.
Also in international news, Saudi Arabia says it has foiled a terrorist attack against the Grand Mosque in Mecca, Islam's holiest site. The Saudi Interior Ministry said that a suicide bomber was planning an attack against the mosque but blew himself up yesterday when security forces surrounded the building in which he was hiding. Saudi media report that 6 citizens and 5 members of the security forces were injured in the blast and that 5 people have been arrested in connection with the planned attack. And now we take a look at a few other stories making news across the world in brief.
Thousands of residents in a sprawling North London housing estate were forced to leave their apartments late yesterday after fire checks carried out in the wake of the deadly Grenfell Tower blaze found the buildings to be unsafe. Fire checks have been carried out on some 600 high-rise buildings across England after a fire ravaged a social tower block in West London last week, killing at least 79 people. An Indian woman was burnt alive by her family in India's northern city of Moradabad yesterday for marrying a man against their wishes. Police have booked 8 persons in the case and arrested 1 so far. But honour killings are common in India and activists say the crime is underreported and often covered up and made to look like suicides from poisoning or hanging. Meanwhile, the Trump administration has authorized the sale of unarmed surveillance drones to India in a deal estimated to be worth $2 billion. India has offered to buy 22 Guardian MQ-9B unmanned aircraft for maritime surveillance, and while the deal is yet to receive congressional approval, it comes before Indian PM Narendra Modi's meeting with US President Donald Trump on Monday.
And that's all from your primetime news desk tonight. But before we go, we'd like to take you to the Lamayuru Buddhist monastery, nestled in the Himalayas in northern India, where hundreds of devotees and tourists gathered to witness spectacular masked dances performed by monks dressed in colourful traditional costumes as part of the 2-day Lamayuru festival, which concluded yesterday. Have a pleasant evening. Stay safe. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.